With that and the Game 2 setup, let's get out to the stadium now. Meredith Marakovits standing by with the Clubhouse Report, brought to you by Empire City Casino. Let's play. And Meredith, we'll talk pitching in a minute, but let's talk about the positional role at first base. I wouldn't call it a revolving door there, but there are some changing faces with Mark Teixeira out. Tell us what's going on there.
Bob, the Yankees are hoping that it's not a revolving door and that Mark Teixeira will be back sooner rather than later, of course, placed on the DL on Saturday. But this afternoon, you're going to get a look at Francisco Cervelli at first base. He told us in the clubhouse about an hour and a half ago that the last time he played first base was probably when he was about 15 years old. Now, he is a guy that's taken some reps there all throughout spring. He kind of worked his way around the infield, and he said, look, you never know what could happen. I kind of consider myself the 26th man on this team. If they need to plug me in somewhere, I need to be ready, and I want to feel comfortable. Now, he did mention I'm not going to be Mark Teixeira out there, but I think I'm going to be more comfortable as time goes on and I get more reps out there. And he is a guy that's appeared in games in the infield in the past. He's athletic enough to do it, and Joe Girardi didn't seem too concerned about him at first base. So this is the first part of the experiment with Kelly Johnson getting the afternoon off.
Meredith, I mentioned earlier that Robertson going on the DL with that strained groin. What pitcher have the Yankees added to the roster?
It'll be Cesar Cabral being called up from AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. He got the call about 5:30 yesterday. They were in Rochester and said he could not have been happier. You see it right there. Another guy, David Robertson, grade 1 strain, so he again is hoping to be back sooner rather than later, but time will tell with that. Cabral had a great spring. He went 9 1/3 scoreless innings. He was one of the last cuts out of spring, and he said that experience alone helped him a little bit to build confidence, also to see other guys prepare. Felt as though he was throwing the ball really well, and fastball command, something that he had mentioned had been a difference this spring. So time will tell exactly how Joe Girardi uses him. Cabral said he thinks he can get both lefties and righties out, so something to watch there. Now, the Yankees have 3 lefties in the pen, so a lot of options. I asked Joe Girardi, why'd you decide to go with another lefty, not bring a right-hander up? And he said just based on the competition that we are facing in the upcoming days, we felt as though we can use a lefty out of that pen. Now, guys, something that's also noteworthy, late yesterday, Eduardo Nunez was traded to the Minnesota Twins, so he is now a member of the Twins, and they got in exchange a minor league pitcher there. And that one, a tough one for the Yankees, losing Eduardo Nunez, one of the last cuts in camp. Obviously, Solarte played his way onto this roster, but Nunez, a guy that was very familiar with life up here in New York, and you wonder if a change of scenery will offer him some more opportunities.
Meredith, Cabral is jumping into a situation of dominance. Yankee relievers have held opponents to a 121 batting average this year. How excited and encouraged are Girardi and Rothschild by what they've seen out of their bullpen, especially yesterday?
They have to be extremely encouraged. I don't think they could have too much bad things to say about this bullpen so far. And look, everybody in that bullpen has contributed. David Phelps had a couple of rough outings, but you look at his outing yesterday, got a big out in a big situation. He seems to be back on track. And you look at other guys like an Adam Warren, who's thrown the ball extremely well. It was his 3rd appearance of the season, pitched a scoreless 8th, issued a walk to start, but then settled in. And then Sean Kelly picking up his first save of his career. He jokingly said after the game, look, I don't even know what happened out there. It happened so fast, and did say it was a little different coming in that 9th inning instead of coming in the 8th inning, a role that he was adjusting to already, filling in for David Robertson, who, of course, got the closer's role coming into this season. Now, interestingly enough, Kelly will be the closer most likely moving forward, but the Yankees will not have him today. He pitched in back-to-back days, and Joe Girardi typically early in the season doesn't like to use guys 3 days in a row, so I asked him if Kelly were available, and he said probably not. I went on to say, well, then who will be your closer? And he said, Meredith, that's a great question. We'll see. Also, Matt Thornton not available today, so they're really going to have to mix and match depending on where they are in the lineup.
All right, well, Ivan Nova, if he can get an early lead and keep the Orioles' bats at bay, can really help decide and make it easy for Girardi in terms of what happens later in the game. Now, Nova, Meredith, in his last outing, got the win against the Astros, but he was kind of all over the place, and told you post-game he only had command of 1 pitch, really. So you got to think he wants to get a grip on a couple more of his good pitches today.
He did. He said he only had his sinker, but it's funny. I talked to Joe Girardi in the taping for the Joe Girardi show, and he said he had one pitch. I didn't think he had much of anything out there. He did manage to get a bunch of double plays, which really helped him, 4 of those, and that got him out of a lot of jams. But you saw a different Ivan Nova. Perhaps last year he wouldn't have been able to get out of jams like that, and he said that it might have escalated. That might have been a game that got away from me, but he managed to stay focused on the mound, listen to his catcher, and make some big pitches when it mattered the most. He feels as though he's a different pitcher out there on the mound. Joe Girardi said he's noticed differences in Ivan Nova, even in spring training, the confidence, the maturity, so time will tell whether or not he can give this team the much-needed innings they need with some guys in that bullpen not available.
All right, Meredith, have a great afternoon, and Jack and I will see you again on the postgame show.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.